So how did Steph Curry completely revolutionize the game with his shooting from distance? I'm about to show you exactly how you can do it too. 7 specific ways Steph Curry has changed the game. You want to shoot further, you want to shoot faster, and you want to make more shots? Well, let's dive into the film a little bit and figure out exactly what it is. Here's the first thing. It's the dip. You want to shoot further and farther, you got to dip lower yourself. Old school coaches says don't dip. They actually don't know that much about shooting. You've got to dip low, whether it be off the catch or off the dribble. You dip to get up into your shot. Now, Steph Curry dips, and the way that he dips is he loads. You'll hear me use the word load from this point on. He gets to his load position, whether it be off the catch or off the shot. Wherever the ball goes, he loads to the same position. You load to explode. You load your hands so you can get your hands lifted high and quickly. You load your hands off the dribble as well so you can get a lot of power and shoot quickly off the catch also. You load to explode. You go down so you go up. Dip gets buckets. If you want our 30-day training program for how to become a knockdown shooter, our SAVI shooting system, all you gotta do is head to the website, head to the app. I'd love to make you smart, tough, and clever. Here's the second one. He lifts faster. So old school coaches would be like, okay, we got to make sure that we have a hand on the side of the ball and a hand behind the ball. And yeah, that's fine. That's one way to do a one-handed shot, but you're not going to actually lift the ball very quickly if you have your hand on the side of the ball and behind the ball because you're not very strong with the ball. We actually want our hands to be wider in this grip. This is what we call lift position. Lift position gets the ball lifted up faster. The faster you can lift, the faster you can swing your arms, just the same way that you would swing your arms while you're jumping, actually helps you generate more power. You lift quickly. Oh, good pass.
Thanks.
You lift quickly. The quicker you can lift, the quicker you can get your shot off, and the stronger you're going to get your shot off as well. Okay, here's the next one. You tilt. Okay, you heard 10 toes to the rim before. It's one of the worst myths in the game of basketball. You want to make sure, just like Steph Curry's feet, you're tilted. The more tilted you are, the more you're able to actually generate power. It's setting you up to generate power off the side of your body, to generate rotational power. The more square we are, the more we're isolating just our arms and our chest. The more tilted we are, the more we can utilize our hips and generate more rotational power so that we can shoot an easy ball. So how tilted should you be? I don't know. It's different for everybody, but you want to be, if 12 o'clock is where my toes would be pointed here, we want to be somewhere between 10 and 11 o'clock. It's different. Steph's a little bit more like 10:30, but we tilt for power, we tilt for turn, we tilt to get buckets. And tilting sets up the next point. The next point is allow your body to turn. When you're shooting really, really in close to the basket, you don't need any rotational power. You can shoot a high jump shot and you can keep your body square or chest to the target. But to generate power from further, you've got to allow your body to turn and rotate. Gosh, that's a good sound. To turn and rotate down the line so that you can generate a little bit more power and force. The next one is don't use your legs. Now, of course, you're going to use your legs a little bit, but a lot of people have said like, oh, the further you get from the hoop, the deeper you got a knee bend. Well, if I go into this deep squat position, what I'm actually losing is speed, and it's a lot harder to generate power. Whereas what we say to generate power is we want to shoot in rhythm. You've all heard a coach say shoot in rhythm before. Well, that's pretty vague and hasn't really helped the thousands of players that I've worked with and taught shooting. Instead, what we're trying to do is get sequence. Rhythm equals sequence. And sequence is just this. Sequence is we want to be pushing down on the floor at the same time we're pushing up on the basketball. And in order to do that, if we have a deep knee bend, it's a lot harder to sequence up. But if we just have like a small knee bend, you can see it right here, a small knee bend, we can still generate, gosh, that's a good sound. We can still generate plenty of power just by sequencing up. So sequence generates power, and Steph does that without a deep knee bend. So can you. More legs is less sequence is less power, less legs is more sequence is more power. We want the same knee bend. Okay, here's the next one, the next tip, and I'm going to throw a bonus in here at the end for you as well. The next tip is this. We want to have a lower fire point. Now you're probably thinking like, what the heck's a fire point? Well, I call it a fire point that traditionally might be called a set point or a load point or a platter point. All of those words are interchangeable. I call it a fire point because we want to fire our arm down the line the moment our hand gets under the ball. Now, a traditional jump shot from the mid-range would be a much higher fire point because you don't need to generate as much power from in there. Whereas all of these shooters that can shoot from distance really effectively have a lower fire point. And it's really simple as to why. You're stronger lower. If you're lifting really, really heavy weights, it takes more force to get it fully extended above your head than to just get it here. So Steph has a really low fire point, which allows him to generate a lot more power. You want to get more power, you just got to get a lower fire point. Back rim and down, baby, Brad style. Okay, you stuck around for it. I'm going to give you the bonus. It's a bonus because I would do this one last. Make sure that you like, make sure you subscribe if you want more breakdowns like this. And let me know in the comments what else you want me to break down. Like, this is how Steph Curry shoots so well from so deep. Well, you want to know, how does Giannis get to the rim so easily? How does Zion get so many offensive rebounds? Or whatever you want to know, ask me. I would love to break it down for you without the fluff, just the stuff that you can apply. So here's your bonus, how it generates so much power. The secret is wrist pronation. Most of us have been taught just use wrist flexion, which is your wrist going straight back and forth. We actually have more power with wrist pronation. When we actually pronate our wrist, it generates more power down the line. And he does this by his handprint. I've named this thing laces. You can check out my other YouTube videos if you want to learn more about laces. But if you can actually get your fingers down and across the laces so you get a wider grip and pull that ball in tighter to yourself, it's going to feel almost more like how you might throw a chest pass, but with your thumbs a little bit offset, down and across the laces. This actually creates that same snap that you would generate while throwing an old school chest pass, but it does it at your fire point to generate more power down the line. It is wrist, watch my right wrist, wrist pronation, as opposed to my hand behind the ball, wrist flexion. Wrist pronation, as opposed to wrist flexion. And that's why you'll actually see with Steph and a lot of these other shooters, you'll actually see them finishing not like this, but you'll actually see them finishing like this, with both hands going down the line, because they actually pronated, and at the end they do get a little bit of the lift hand, as we call it, into the shot to generate some wrist pronation. It looks a little bit like this. You'll see there at the very end that we are lifting, our hands are on the side of the ball, lifting, but at the fire point, when our hand gets under the ball, we pronate and fire down the line. What's really cool is our wrist pronation works with our body rotation to generate power down the center of the ball in a straight line to the hoop. You saw me do it, you see Steph do it, it'll open your eyes, you'll see everybody that's shooting from deep with speed and a high degree of accuracy. You'll see them all do it. There it is, secret unlocked. That's how Steph Curry shoots so well from so far, and hopefully you can too. Thanks for rebounding, Charlie.
Yeah.
It's my daughter, Charlie. That's SAVI. We'll see you next time.